My boyfriend's delusional ex once said, "Yeah, I broke up with him, but you're not allowed to move on with him until I say so." At the time, I laughed. Now, I file that sentence under first red flag I should have taken seriously. My name is Amelia Rhodes. I'm 28 years old, and this is the kind of story you usually read at 3 a.m. on Reddit under something like crazy ex-girlfriend while you're half asleep and swearing people make this stuff up. I wish this was made up. It started long before I ever met her. Before I ever met him, actually. Before there was us, there was Noah and Sophia. On paper, Sophia sounded like every cliche ex you warn your friends about. Pretty, intense, always posting about vibes, and the universe sending signs. But when Noah first told me about her, he sounded more tired than bitter. She wasn't always the villain, he said once, tracing a ring mark on our coffee table. She just needed life to feel like a movie all the time. Calm felt like an insult to her. I didn't fully get it until he told me about the night she ended things. I wasn't there, obviously, but I've heard the story enough times that I can see it like a movie in my head now. Dim dining room, cheap wine, the kind of silence that makes the air feel heavy. They were at his place. Apparently he'd made chicken, because Noah is that guy, the one who actually seasons food and pretends he's not secretly proud of it. Sophia sat across from him, staring at her plate like she was rehearsing. She put her fork down, inhaled, and said, "I'm not happy anymore." No build-up, no gentle start, just surgical. According to Noah, he didn't flinch. He took another bite, chewed, thought, "Chicken's good tonight," and only then looked up. "Okay," he said. That one word threw her. You have to understand something about Sophia. She thrived on reactions. Tears, yelling, dramatic exits, those were her currency. She expected him to either beg or explode. Instead, she got calm. She frowned. "You don't even care, do you? Everything feels so cold lately. You've become boring." Boring. He'd repeated it back to her like he was tasting the word. "Yeah," she'd said, like she'd been dying to get that line out. "You never do anything spontaneous. You don't surprise me. You don't plan fun dates like other guys do for their girlfriends." There it was, the other guy's speech, the invisible comparison he was always supposed to be losing. Sophia leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms like a judge delivering a sentence. "Honestly, when I hang out with my friends, their boyfriends actually try. They take them on weekend trips. They send flowers for no reason. You just exist." When he told me this part, he'd laughed under his breath and said, "I almost asked her if she wanted me to come with a loyalty card or a subscription model." He didn't, of course. Out loud, he just said, "So, because I don't waste money on overpriced tulips, I'm boring?" "That's not what I mean," she'd shot back, but her tone apparently screamed, "Yes, that's exactly what I mean." He set his fork down and really looked at her for the first time that night. "You've been rehearsing this, haven't you?" Sophia blinked. "No, I just—" "Yeah, you did," he cut in, calm, leaning back in his chair. "The little list. Cold. Boring. Not romantic. Let me guess. You practiced this after one of your deep therapy sessions over mimosas with your friends." Her jaw had dropped. "Wow, you're so defensive." "Not defensive," he'd said. "Just tired." That line always hits me. Just tired. That's the thing about people like Sophia. They don't understand tired. To her, tired wasn't an emotion. It was an insult. It meant he was done playing. He told me how she'd picked up her glass and swirled her water like it was wine, giving him that look like she was starring in her own breakup scene. "You've changed, Noah. You used to make me feel excited. Now it's just routine." "Routine," he'd repeated. "That's what stable people call comfort. But sure, keep romanticizing chaos." She'd glared at him, probably waiting for guilt or regret. Instead, she got sarcasm. And then came the line I would someday hear in a different form, aimed at me. "Do I even matter to you?" she'd demanded. "Do you even care about us?" He said he'd sat there for a few seconds, then answered, completely calm, "If you're not happy, you can leave." That wasn't in her script. Her whole performance hinged on him begging, on him scrambling, promising to change, suddenly booking flights and sending flowers just to keep her. Instead, he handed her the exit. Later, as he lay alone in his guest room that night, staring at the ceiling and listening to the silence, he realized something I wouldn't fully understand until much later. He didn't feel empty. He felt done. Sophia had been half gone for months. That dinner just made it official. The next morning, he said, the house felt lighter. He made coffee, fed his cat. Yes, Nala was already in the picture back then, tiny and judgmental, checked his emails, and waited to see what version of Sophia would walk out of the bedroom. He got the angry one. You really slept in the guest room? She'd snapped. Yeah, he said, sipping his coffee. Bed's smaller, but it doesn't complain. Cabinet doors started slamming. Drawers rattled. Plates clinked. It sounded like a kitchen protest march. He scrolled on his phone and let her perform. 10 minutes of noise, then the dramatic monologue. Did I ever mean anything to you? Do I even matter? You're just sitting there drinking coffee like everything's fine. Do you realize you're losing me? I'm aware, he'd answered. That line, too, made something deep inside her fracture. To someone like Sophia, being lost was supposed to be a tragedy. Instead, he was treating it like a weather report. He told me how she escalated, how she brought up all her sacrifices, her time, her energy, and how he finally just said, "You already quit. I'm just not auditioning for the role of desperate ex." By the time she dragged her suitcase down the hallway, loudly, sighing with every pull like she was in an airport movie, Noah said he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Relief. The last act of that breakup came when she tried to claim everything that wasn't nailed down. His things, joint investments, even Nala. She'd reached toward the cat on the windowsill with this sugary voice. "Come here, baby. Come to mommy." Nala flattened her ears, hissed and swiped. Perfect red scratch across Sophia's hand. "Your cat is cruel," she'd gasped. "Maybe she just has good judgment," he'd replied. She stormed out with one final threat. "You're going to regret this." He didn't. He repainted the walls, replaced the neon "Good Vibes Only" sign with the steel clock he'd welded himself. Turned the junk cave garage into a home gym. Picked calm over chaos every single day. That's the version of him I met later, the man who had already chosen peace. What I didn't realize, sitting on his couch months afterward with Nala curled against my leg, was that his past wasn't finished. Sophia wasn't done. And the next time she tried to prove she still had power, she wouldn't come for him in a dining room. She'd come for me. When I first started dating Noah, I didn't meet Sophia. I met her shadow. The first time I went to his place, I could tell there'd been another woman there long before me. Not because it still looked like a shrine to her, but because it looked like a crime scene where someone had scrubbed too hard to erase something. The walls were fresh gray. The furniture was new. There was a steel clock welded above the leather couch that looked like it belonged in a Loft magazine spread. Everything was clean, neat, almost aggressively calm. "Wow," I'd said, turning in a slow circle. "This is very put together." He'd shrugged. "It used to look like a unicorn exploded in here." I glanced at him, amused. "Seriously?" "Pink pillows, rainbow throws, quotes on the wall," he said, nodding toward the empty space above the TV. She had a neon sign there. "Good vibes only." I snorted. "Let me guess. The vibes were never good." "Not once," he said, a faint smile tugging at his mouth. "So, I painted, replaced everything, built that clock." He said it so casually, but I could hear the layers under it. The way someone says, "I rebuilt my life," but only out loud, calls it redecorating. The garage was his favorite part. When he opened the door and flipped on the light, I felt like I'd stepped into a different version of him. Rubber mats on the floor, squat rack, dumbbells lined up in perfect order, a heavy bag hanging from the ceiling. "What did this used to be?" I asked. He hesitated, then smirked. "Her junk cave." "And now?" "Now it's therapy," he said, patting the punching bag. "I call this one Sophia." He said it like a joke, but the first time I watched him hit that bag, focused, controlled, I understood resentment can be turned into something that makes you stronger or something that eats you. He'd chosen the first. Outside of that, our life together was soft, normal. We weren't posting couple goals. We weren't going on surprise trips every other weekend. We split groceries, argued about whose turn it was to take the trash out, and fell asleep on the couch with Nala purring between us like a judgmental chaperone. I work in technical support, so my days are mostly screens, glitchy systems, and people asking me why their computer won't turn on when it's not plugged in. Noah works with metal, welding, fabricating, building functional art, and custom pieces for clients. We're not glamorous, but we are quiet. And after a while, the quiet started to feel sacred. He told me stories here and there about Sophia, never all at once, never like he wanted me to hate her, more like he wanted me to understand why he flinched a little when someone raised their voice, why he triple-checked plans, why he kept saying, "If you're unhappy, don't stay, just tell me and go." "I'm not planning a dramatic exit," I'd told him once, leaning against the workbench in his garage while he polished a metal sculpture. "If I go, it'll be because the Wi-Fi's bad." He'd laughed, and some of the tension around his eyes softened. We'd been together long enough to settle into that easy rhythm when Mark texted. Mark is one of Noah's oldest friends, the kind who knows all your exes, all your bad haircuts, and still shows up when you move apartments. He sent a group message about a backyard party at his place. Nothing crazy, just grilling, music, drinks, people. "Want to go?" Noah asked, leaning on the counter with his phone in hand. I considered. I'm not a huge party person, but I also knew how often Noah had turned things down back when he was with Sophia because drama followed her everywhere. "Yeah," I said. "Let's go be social and then come home and complain about people together." He grinned. Perfect date. We got ready without fuss. I pulled on jeans, a black top, tied my hair up. He wore a simple t-shirt and jeans, the kind of thing that somehow still made him look like he belonged on a catalog page. On the drive over, the windows were down, music low, night air warm. We joked about who would get cornered by someone oversharing their life story first. I was in a good mood. That should have been my first warning. Mark's backyard was strung with cheap fairy lights, the kind that make everything look softer than it is. People were scattered around. By the grill, near the folding table crammed with chips and dips, around a fire pit someone had attempted to light 3 times. Mark spotted us and came over, pulling Noah into one of those half-hug, half-backslap things. "Look who finally left his hermit cave," he said, nodding toward me. "You must be Amelia. I've heard she's not chaotic, said in your direction at least 5 times. "High praise," I said, shaking his hand. "Nice to meet you." We drifted into the flow of the party. It was normal. Someone complaining about their boss, someone else showing baby photos, a guy arguing about the best time to go to the gym. For a while, I forgot there was any such thing as a woman named Sophia. Then I saw the way Noah's posture changed. Not dramatically, just a small shift. His shoulders pulled in 1/2 inch. His eyes flicked toward the side gate. "Don't panic," he said under his breath, "but she's here." I followed his gaze. Sophia walked in like she owned the place. Hair blown out, narrow dress, heels sunk slightly into the grass. She smiled too brightly at Mark, hugged someone longer than necessary, adjusted her bracelet like it was being filmed. My stomach didn't drop, it didn't twist. Instead, it felt like walking into a room and realizing someone had turned the volume up just a little too high. Sophia scanned the yard. You could see the exact moment she found us. A flicker of surprise, then calculation. Then that thing Noah had described, the way her ego sat up and straightened its spine. She hadn't expected him to look happy. Noah took a sip from his drink, barely reacting. "Remember," he murmured, "you don't owe her anything." "I know," I said. 10 minutes passed. She hovered near the snack table, laughing too loud at a joke no one told, glancing over every few seconds. The air around her felt charged, like waiting for static to snap. Finally, she approached. "Hey, stranger," she said, voice sugar-sweet, eyes locked on Noah. He turned just enough to acknowledge her, not enough to invite her closer. "Sophia." She gave him a bright smile. "Wow, you look good." "Thanks," he said, flat, neutral. Her gaze slid to me, taking quick inventory. Clothes, hair, shoes, the way my hand rested casually on Noah's arm. "And you must be—" She let it hang there. "Amelia," I said. "Hi." Her smile tightened. "Right. I've heard of you." "I bet you have," I thought. "Didn't know you'd be here," she said to Noah, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear, a move so deliberate it may as well have come with stage directions. "Guess we both got invited," he replied. Silence stretched between them. She couldn't stand it. She reached out and lightly touched his arm, nails painted a red that warned more than it seduced. "I've missed us," she said softly. I felt eyes on us, people nearby pretending not to listen. Noah glanced down at her hand, then leaned in, voice low but clear enough that I heard every word. "Don't do this, Sophia. We're done." Her smile flickered. "Relax. It's just a joke." He gave a small, calm half-smile. "Then let's keep it that way." He stepped back, away from her touch, and turned slightly toward me. It was subtle, but it was a line. Her cheeks reddened. "You don't have to be so dramatic." You could feel the crowd tuning in. Even the music seemed to fade a little. "You left," Noah said, voice steady but louder now. "I moved on. Don't make it weird." The conversation around us stalled. Someone near the grill froze with tongs midair. A couple by the cooler went quiet. Sophia stared at him, her face pulling tight, like she'd rehearsed an entirely different scene and he'd just thrown out her script. "I wasn't trying to make it weird," she said, laugh brittle. "Good," he answered. "Then we're on the same page." He turned fully toward me then. "You want another drink?" "Yeah," I said, "please." We walked away together. Behind us I could hear whispers. "Is that his ex?" "Damn." That was rough. I glanced back once. Sophia stood there, rooted, holding her cup like she wasn't sure whether to throw it or cry into it. One of her friends went up to her, whispering frantically. Sophia laughed too loud, tossing her hair, pretending none of it bothered her. It did. You could see it in the way her shoulders stiffened, in the way her eyes kept darting toward us, measuring the distance like it was an insult. Later, when we were leaning against the fence, Mark wandered over, eyebrows raised. That the infamous one? He asked Noah quietly. Yeah, Noah said. She looked like she wanted the ground to swallow her, Mark muttered. She should have brought her own trapdoor, Noah replied. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, as I watched Sophia across the yard, laughing, gesturing too big, draining her drink, I just felt uneasy, like we'd just seen the first crack in something that wasn't going to break quietly. On the drive home, the windows were up this time. No music, just the soft hum of the engine and the rush of thoughts. You okay? Noah asked. Yeah, I said, but she's not. He was quiet a moment. She'll find someone else to perform for. Maybe, I said, watching the streetlights flicker across the windshield. Unless she decides we're still her audience. I didn't know it then, but I was right. Sophia wasn't going to fade into the background. She was just getting started. For a little while, I convinced myself I was imagining it. I told myself Sophia showing up at that party was just bad luck, that the way her eyes cut toward Noah every few minutes didn't mean anything, that people can be messy and embarrassed without being dangerous. I should have trusted the knot in my stomach instead, because the coincidences started soon after. The first time I was at the gym, my usual early afternoon slot, headphones in, focused, the smell of rubber mats and metal in the air. I was doing dumbbell rows, halfway through a set, when I saw the reflection of someone lingering near the water fountain behind me. She wasn't drinking. She wasn't stretching. She was pretending to scroll her phone, screen brightness glowing at max, the way people fake-check their reflections. Sophia, wearing brand new gym clothes, tag still attached. I stared straight at her reflection in the mirror until she noticed. She flinched, then forced a smile. Oh, Amelia, right? What a coincidence. Wild, I deadpanned, lowering the weight. She brushed hair behind her ear. I've been meaning to get back into working out. That why you're standing still? I asked, wiping my hands. Her smile twitched. I'm warming up. By staring at the water fountain? I asked. Her cheek stiffened. God, you're paranoid. Relax. She turned sharply and walked out. She didn't touch a single machine. I didn't tell Noah right away. I didn't want to sound insecure. After all, Sophia knew the same places he did. Maybe she knew the same places I liked too. Maybe she'd just started going again. But then it happened again. 2 days later, I was standing in line at the cafe near my office, waiting for my iced latte, when a too bright voice chirped behind me. Amelia, oh my freaking God, what are the odds? I turned slowly. Sophia, again, holding nothing, wearing sunglasses inside, a fake surprised smile plastered across her face like she'd practiced it in the car. Pretty low, I said. She let out a giggly laugh. Don't be silly, people are allowed to get coffee. Right, I nodded. Just like people are allowed to pretend they suddenly need coffee at the exact place and time someone else goes every morning. Her smile froze. You think I'm following you? She said with a breathy, offended gasp. Are you? I asked. She scoffed dramatically, too dramatically, then turned and walked out before her drink was even called. The barista glanced at me like, what was that? I shook my head. When I saw her a third time, I stopped pretending it was coincidence. It was late, almost 11 p.m., and the grocery store was mostly empty, except for the night shift stalkers and a couple of students buying ramen. I was picking up eggs because Noah had a habit of using the last 3 and leaving an empty carton in the fridge. I opened the door to the refrigerated section, reached for the carton, and... A voice behind me. Didn't expect to see you here. I turned. Sophia again, holding nothing. No basket, no cart, no groceries. Just her, wearing a hoodie and leggings like she'd thrown them on in a hurry. Her hair was slightly curled, too polished for a late-night grocery run. I kept my expression flat. Where are your groceries? She blinked. I'm just shopping. With your bare hands? I asked, nodding toward her empty arms. She bristled. Jesus, Amelia, people are allowed to shop. She followed me through 2 aisles before peeling off. I didn't say a word. Didn't scream. Didn't confront her. Didn't ask why she was there. Because for the first time, her eyes had that unfocused glaze. Not anger. Not jealousy. Something else. Something unstable. The next morning, I woke up to a small bouquet of roses on our front porch. No note. No card. Just tightly wrapped stems and a red ribbon. I figured a neighbor's delivery got mixed up. I threw them away. The next day, chocolates appeared. High-end brand. The kind you don't buy accidentally. No note. I threw those away too. But the third day, that's when I stopped pretending. Under our doormat was a folded piece of paper, my name written in blue ink in handwriting. I recognized from screenshots Noah had shown me months ago. Curvy, dramatic, circles on every eye. Inside, one line. You know he misses me. No signature, because she knew I didn't need one. I didn't throw that away. I stood there on the porch, early morning sunlight slanting across the concrete, holding the note with my fingers trembling slightly. Not from fear, but from the realization that this wasn't about Noah anymore. This was about me. I went inside and pulled up our doorbell camera. And there she was, Sophia. At 12:17 a.m., wearing a fitted jacket, her hair carefully curled, placing the roses down like she was performing in a music video. She adjusted them, smoothed her hair, looked into the camera, and smiled. A slow, eerie, romantic smile. I watched the video twice, then a third time. There was no denial now, no guessing, no coincidence. I screenshotted it, saved it, backed it up. When Noah walked into the kitchen sleepy-eyed and smiling, holding Nala like she was a baby who refused to wake up, I turned my phone around and showed him. He froze. His smile died instantly. She left roses, I said quietly. Then chocolates, and now a note. He stared at the screen, his jaw tightening. At midnight? Yeah. Okay, he said slowly. This is not okay. I nodded. She's escalating. We didn't fight. He didn't try to minimize it. His face said everything. Anger, fear, confusion, and guilt. As if he'd somehow caused this. You didn't do this, I said, placing my hand on his. This isn't your fault. He exhaled shakily. She didn't used to be like this. She also didn't used to leave hand-delivered threats on someone else's doorstep. He swallowed hard. For the first time since I'd met him, I saw something new in Noah's face. Not exhaustion. Not annoyance. Not the quiet sadness people carry after a bad breakup. This time, he looked genuinely scared. He didn't say it out loud. He didn't have to. Because at that moment, he finally believed something I'd known since the party. Sophia wasn't done with us. Not even close. If the roses, chocolates, and midnight smiles were the opening act, what came next was the moment the curtain dropped and the real show began. It started with a message request on Instagram. Not from Sophia. From Maya, one of her old friends. The quiet one. The only person in their old friend group who didn't look like she lived off drama and iced lattes. Her first line made my stomach sink. Hey, I don't know if I should be telling you this, but Sophia is not okay. I stared at it for a few seconds, debating whether to open it fully. Then I did. A wall of text unfurled. She's acting really weird. Like, really weird. She keeps talking about Noah, says he's just confused and you're manipulating him. She has pictures of him everywhere, new ones, ones from his stories, even ones with you cropped out. My pulse thudded in my ears. I typed back, "Are you sure?" She replied instantly, "Dead serious. I think she's losing it. I've tried telling her to stop, but she won't listen. She keeps saying something about fixing what you ruined." A chill crawled down my spine. Not because I hadn't expected it, but because she said it out loud. When Noah came home that night, sweaty from the gym, hair damp, shirt clinging to him, I told him about the message. He leaned over the counter, bracing his hands on the edge like suddenly gravity had doubled. "Pictures of me," he murmured. "New ones," I said. "Screenshots. Stuff from your stories." He closed his eyes. Jesus Christ. "What do you want to do?" I asked softly. He shook his head. "I don't know yet." We talked long into the night about boundaries, safety, what escalation looks like. He apologized twice, and both times I shut it down. "Stop," I told him, placing my palm on his chest. "You didn't do this. She did." He nodded, but didn't look convinced. Nala jumped onto the counter between us and headbutted Noah's chin, purring. He held her gently, staring into her eyes like she had the answer. "She knows, doesn't she?" he whispered to the cat. "She can smell crazy." Nala flicked her tail, which in cat language absolutely meant, yes, obviously. But things didn't quiet down. They got worse. The confrontation. 3 days later, I was locking my car at the end of the workday when I heard brisk footsteps behind me. Heavy, quick, agitated. I turned. Sophia, wearing sunglasses even though it was cloudy. Jaw clenched, fists balled at her sides. My heart rate jumped, but my voice stayed steady. "What do you want?" She stopped a few feet away, chest rising and falling. "You need to stop," she said. "Stop what?" "Stop trying to turn Noah against me," she hissed. I blinked. He's your ex. He's confused, she snapped. You're confusing him, manipulating him. You're replacing me in his life. That's what happens when people break up, I said calmly. They move on. Her lip trembled, not with sadness, but rage. He was happy with me. I tilted my head. Was he? Her nostrils flared. You don't know anything about us. I know you're showing up everywhere I go, I said. I know you left gifts on our porch at midnight. I know you sent a note. Her face twitched. Then she did the thing I dreaded most. She smiled. Tight, sharp, dangerous. You think you're smart, she whispered. You think you're better than me. No, I said. I think you need help. That word, help, landed like a slap. She stepped closer, too close. You don't get to talk to me like I'm broken, she said, voice shaking. You don't get to steal what's mine and act like you're some savior. He's not yours, I said, and he's not something to steal. Her eyes went glassy, not crying, not angry, unfocused, like she was halfway between a breakdown and a plan. You're going to regret this, she breathed. And then she turned, storming toward her car, slamming the door so hard the entire parking lot flinched. I stood still until I heard her tires screech as she peeled out of the lot. When I got home that evening, I didn't tell Noah right away. I wanted to pick the right moment. He was in the garage, welding goggles on, sparks flying. In bursts of orange, the hum of the machine buzzed through the air. He lifted the visor when I stepped in, brow furrowed. Hey, he said, you all right? No, I said honestly. His face tensed. What happened? So I told him. Everything. The confrontation. The threats. The smile that wasn't a smile. He listened, jaw clenching tighter with every word. She came to your job, he said, voice low. Parking lot, I corrected. But yes. He wiped a hand down his face, pacing once in the small space. This is bad, he said quietly. This is really bad. We need to do something, I said, before it gets worse. He nodded, eyes hardening, the calm man replaced by someone protective, focused. You're right. Then he did something he'd never done before. He pulled me in, wrapped both arms around me, and held on like the world outside that garage had teeth. When he finally pulled back, his voice was steady again. No more ignoring this, he said. We watch the cameras, we save screenshots, we take this seriously. I nodded. Because I already was. He kissed my forehead, slow and grounding. We'll get through this, he said. I wanted to believe him. I really did. But later that night, as I lay in bed staring up at the ceiling with Nala curled like a warm stone at my feet, a small, cold realization settled in my chest. Sophia wasn't just trying to get Noah back. She was trying to erase me from the equation entirely. And people who think they're losing control don't go quietly. They go loud. They go unpredictable. They go dangerous. I didn't know how bad it would get. Not yet. But I was about to find out. The night everything broke open was ordinary in the way all disasters are ordinary right before they happen. It was a Thursday. Not a dramatic night, not a full moon, not even raining. Just a plain evening, where I'd finished microwaving leftovers. Nala was doing her nightly patrol of the apartment like she was just checking for paranormal activity, and Noah was running late from a job site. I was sitting on the couch scrolling through messages when I heard it. A knock, not tentative, not polite. A knock that sounded familiar. Nala froze mid-step, her ears flattened. Then she sprinted behind the couch like she'd rehearsed it. My heart dropped into my stomach. She only reacted like that to one person. I stood slowly, palms suddenly damp, and approached the door. I didn't open it all the way, just cracked it with the latch still secured. And there she was. Sophia, wearing a fitted jacket, hair curled in careful, romantic waves, lips painted a soft pink, like this was a date, not a warning. In her hands was a small paper bag, folded neatly at the top. Her eyes lit up. Amelia, she said softly. Hi. My voice came out steady. What do you want? She swallowed, stepping a half-inch closer. I came to give you something. No, thanks. She frowned, like I had forgotten my line. It's nothing bad, just something to remember me by. I stared at the bag. It looked light, too light, like there wasn't anything in it at all. What's in the bag? I asked. Just open it, she said, and her voice dipped into a strange mixture of sweetness and pleading. Please, Amelia, just take it. No. Her jaw twitched. For a moment, something behind her eyes flickered. Panic? Rage? Desperation? And then a smile smoothed over her face like plaster. You don't trust me, she whispered. I didn't answer. You shouldn't, she added. The air thickened. My fingers tightened on the latch. Leave it there, I said, on the ground. She sighed dramatically. Amelia, I'm trying. I'm trying to be nice. Why won't you just let me talk to you? Because every time you show up, things get worse. Her eyes glassed over, not with tears, something emptier, something unmoored. I didn't take anything, I said. You left. That word left hit her like a slap. Her smile vanished. Her breathing quickened. And before I could react, she reached inside her jacket with a quick, practiced motion. For a split second, I thought, oh God, this is it. But instead of a weapon, she pulled out something metallic and shiny. Click. Cold steel snapped around my wrist. Handcuffs. Real ones, with the other end already locked around her wrist. Time slowed. She looked up at me with wild, triumphant eyes. Now, she whispered, you have to listen. My breath caught. Are you insane? I hissed, yanking instinctively, but she held the chain tight. You don't get to run away, she said, her voice trembling with a manic smile. Not until you understand. Not until you hear me. Sophia, I said sharply, unlock this, right now. She shook her head slowly. No, you've been meddling, poisoning things. Noah is confused. You're confusing him. He and I... There is no you and him, I snapped. Don't lie, she screamed, loud enough to make the hallway echo. You stole him. You stole my future. Her breath was hot and erratic as she leaned in. We belong together, she whispered. All of this drama, this chaos, it's your fault. You pushed me. You pushed us. I glanced down at her hand. The key ring, dangling from 2 fingers. Small, silver, barely noticeable unless you knew to look. I inhaled, exhaled, and made a decision. Instead of yanking away, I stepped closer, fast enough to catch her off guard. With my free hand, I grabbed her wrist and twisted just slightly, forcing her fingers open. The keys clattered against the door frame. She gasped. What are you? I didn't answer. I crouched, snatched the keys, and in one swift motion, unlocked the cuff on my wrist. Her eyes widened. Wait, Amelia, no. But I was already backing up, slamming the door shut between us. I locked the deadbolt. Her voice came through the wood, shrill and frantic. Don't call anyone. It was a mistake. I didn't mean it. I stepped back, heart pounding. Sophia, I said, forcing my voice steady. You need to leave, right now. No, she wailed. You can't do this to me. You can't ruin my life. I'm not ruining anything, I said. You did this. You. She pounded on the door. Open the door. We're not done. I grabbed my phone. Amelia, she screeched. Please, don't call the cops. I'll do anything. Don't, Amelia. I pressed the emergency number. Her screams hit a new pitch. Noah will forgive me. He loves me. You can't take him. The dispatcher answered. I talked fast, clear, controlled. When I finished, they told me officers were on the way. Sophia must have heard. Her voice cracked into a full-blown sob. You can't. I love him. You love control, I said through the door. And you're out of it. She screamed, raw, agonized, and then something metallic clanged against the ground. 10 minutes later, the blue and red glow of patrol cars washed over the walls. I opened the door. Sophia was sitting on the porch steps, handcuffs dangling from one wrist, mascara streaked down her cheeks. What happened here? The officer asked. Sophia pointed at me, hysterical. She's ruining my life. But the officer cut her off. Ma'am, we received a call about trespassing and attempted restraint. Her face collapsed. No, please, this is a misunderstanding. She tricked me. They didn't listen. They cuffed her hands behind her back, this time with their cuffs, not hers. She thrashed. No, you can't do this. I love him. He loves me. Amelia, tell them. I just stood there, arms crossed, expression steady. Sophia's screams echoed through the night as they guided her into the cruiser. The car door shut. Her voice was muffled, then swallowed by the engine. As the patrol lights faded down the street, the world finally went quiet. A soft meow was the first sound I heard behind me. Nala. She crept out from behind the couch and rubbed against my leg, purring like her job was emotional cleanup. I crouched down, stroking her head, letting the adrenaline drain from my fingers. I whispered into the still air. Peace isn't something you find after love ends. It's what you get when you stop letting chaos in. That night, I locked the door, double-checked the windows, fed Nala, and waited for Noah to get home. When he finally walked in and saw my face, he didn't ask. He just held me, and I didn't let go. The next morning, everything felt unreal, like my body was moving through air that was somehow heavier and thinner at the same time. I'd slept, technically, but not well. Every noise outside had made me sit up. Every creak in the apartment had made Nala's ears twitch. But the adrenaline from the night before had sharpened into something else. Resolve. Noah was quiet when he woke, quieter than I'd ever seen him. He made coffee without humming like he usually did. He fed Nala without joking about her CEO attitude. He stood by the kitchen counter like a man trying to comprehend the exact weight of what had just happened. When I handed him the handcuffs Sophia had used, still cold from the night air, he stared at them for a long moment. "I can't believe this," he whispered. "You don't have to believe it," I said softly. "We lived it." He rubbed the back of his neck, eyes tight with guilt he didn't deserve. "I'm sorry," he said. "For what she did," he added before I could scold him. "Not for us. Never for us." I wrapped my arms around him until his breathing steadied, filing the restraining order. At 8 o'clock a.m. sharp, we were at the police station. The officers already recognized me. The older officer, gray hair, kind eyes, built like he'd been in uniform since he was 20, nodded sympathetically when I walked in. "Rough night?" he asked. "You could say that," I replied. We filled out paperwork, so much paperwork, detailing timestamps, footage, gifts, handcuffs, stalking patterns, confrontations, everything. I gave them the printed screenshots, the video from the doorbell, the note she'd left. The officer reading it let out a low whistle. "You've got more than enough for a temporary restraining order," he said, "maybe even a longer-term one." He looked at me seriously. "You did the right thing calling last night." Noah squeezed my hand. When the paperwork was stamped, the official wording hit me all at once. Distance restriction, 100 yards. No contact, no indirect contact, no social media, no surveillance, no proximity to home or workplace. A wall, a legal wall between us and her. It was only temporary for now, but it was something solid, something real. The aftermath, what the world saw. Sophia spent one night in holding. 1. She was released the next morning into her parents' custody under supervision. I heard through the grapevine that she tried crying, screaming, bargaining, and blaming me in rotations. None of it worked. Her mother called later that evening. I didn't answer, but she left a voicemail, a shaky one. "Hi, Amelia. I just want to say I'm sorry. Sophia hasn't been herself lately. Please don't press charges. We're getting her help. She's just not well." I sat on the couch with the phone in my hand long after the voicemail ended. Noah sat beside me, jaw tight. "You're not calling her back," he said. "I'm not," I replied, "because empathy and protection are two different things. She needed help, but she wasn't my responsibility." Not anymore. Mutual friends started reaching out too. Most were nosy, wanting the drama. Some were concerned. A few said, "Sophia told us her version of what happened, and, it doesn't match yours." I didn't bother defending myself. People who wanted the truth asked for it. People who wanted a show didn't deserve answers. The return of quiet. The weeks after were strange, eerily calm. The kind of calm that made you realize how much noise you'd been living with. No more random roses on the porch. No strange coincidences. No messages. No shadows at the gym or the cafe. For the first time in months, the security camera notifications stayed empty. Completely empty. I'd forgotten what peace looked like. The first night I slept without waking 3 times to check the locks, I cried from relief. Not big, dramatic sobs. Just quiet tears that slipped out because my body had finally stopped bracing for impact. Nala curled on my chest like a weighted blanket. Noah held my hand until we drifted off. Little things returned to normal. We finished a whole dinner without talking about Sophia. We repotted plants on the balcony. We went grocery shopping without scanning every aisle first. We took a weekend hike. And one night, almost a month later, I found Noah in the garage, welding sparks flickering around him, shaping a new piece of metal art. He looked lighter. When he noticed me in the doorway, he flipped up his visor. "What do you think?" he asked, stepping aside. It was a sculpture, abstract metal shapes bending in a slow upward arc, like something lifting a weight, contorted but rising. I walked closer, touching the cooled metal. "It looks like someone getting back up," I said softly. He smiled. "That's exactly what it is." The final thought. A few nights later, I sat on the couch with a cup of tea while Noah cleaned up in the kitchen. Nala sprawled on my lap like she'd claimed the territory by legal decree. I stared at the living room, the steel clock, the calm colors, the absence of chaos, and I realized something that hit deep. Peace isn't something you find after losing someone. It's something you protect by refusing to let the wrong people stay. And as I sat there, watching the quiet warmth of our home settle around me like a blanket, I understood something else. Sophia wasn't the storm. She was the warning. The reminder that not all chaos comes with thunder. Sometimes it comes with roses. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is close the door.